So in chapter 2, we're going to work on the distribution of a single variable. So in this chapter, we want to learn how to present the data to decision makers in a way that makes sense to them. We can use graphs like bar chart, pie chart, histogram, scatter chart, and time series graph. And we can also use numerical summary measures like count, percentage, average, measure of variability, table of summary like total, average, and etc. So we have 3 ways to present our data. We have graph, for example, line graph is used to monitor trends over time. Bar chart is used to compare variables. Pie chart is used to report percentage. And etc. And we have numerical summary measures like count, percentage, average, and etc. And we also have some kind of tables. For example, with categorical data, we can just report the count and percentage of the data. With numerical data, we can report the average and other quantities. And we can also report the variability of the data, like a standard deviation, STD. So in data analysis, we have 4 steps. First, we need to recognize or define our problem clearly. Next step is to collect data. Third step is data analysis. And the last step is to act based on the obtained results. These 4 steps are also used in research. You have done that in your previous research. In order to conduct a research project, first we need to find what's the problem. What's the research gap that we are going to address? And then we will collect data. We can either survey people, interview people, or we can use some pre-existing data sets. And the third step is to analyze data. We need to pre-process data. By pre-processing, I mean we need to deal with missing values, like some incorrect values, and etc. And also we need to work and deal with outliers, some exaggerated values. After pre-processing, we use data analytic methods to find relationship between data and also to justify our method. And in the last step is to act based on the obtained results. So the main concepts in this course: population sample, data set, variable, and type of data. Population, it includes all entities or elements of interest, like all the people who vote for a kind of certain candidate in presidential election. all potential voters, all subscribers to cable television, and etc. Sample is a subset of that population. In statistics, we cannot work with huge data sets, and the only way to apply statistical methods is to take samples from huge data sets and then generalize the result to the entire population. Okay. Or when we survey people, or in presidential election, they run some polls and interview some people, and then they generalize it to the entire population. Or other companies like Comcast, they may want to see if subscribers are satisfied with the service that they receive. They cannot talk to all their subscribers. They take a small sample, which is mostly randomly selected from all the population, ask some question, and they come to conclusions. And then they try to generalize those conclusions to the entire population. So one difference between statistic and data analytics is that in statistics we work with samples or small data sets. In data analytics we can handle huge data sets for population. So sample must be taken in a way that can be generalized to the entire population. And in a statistic, it is called unbiased sampling. One method is taking random samples. Okay? The other method is called stratified sample. We divide our data, for example, in 4 categories, and in each of those categories we pick some random samples. Fully random sampling, stratified sampling, and some other methods, because it has to be unbiased. Dataset is a kind of rectangular array of variables. Variable, field, or attribute is a characteristic of members of a population. Observation, record, or case is a list of variable values for a single member of the population. For example, here in this table, continue. We have 7 columns. These columns are called variables. In database, we call them field. We have person, first variable, age, gender, state, children, salary, opinion, and each row is called record or observation. In a statistic, we call it observation. In database, it is called record. So we can now, variables can be divided into 2 categories. We have numeric variables, or quantitative variables. And we have categorical variables, or qualitative variables. Do you guys know the difference between these 2 types of variables? Pardon? That's one of the differences between these 2 categories. It makes no sense to do arithmetic, regular arithmetic on categorical variables. We cannot add them or take average or subtract them. It makes no sense. So regular arithmetic calculations can be used only for numeric variables. Categorical variables are divided into nominal and ordinal. Numeric variable like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and etc. We can, for example, add them together, subtract, summation, division, average, and etc. We can perform all this calculation on numeric variables. But for categorical variables, we cannot apply those methods. Nominal, it's just a label. For example, in a survey, we ask our respondents to select the gender, male and female. Okay? This is a nominal variable. It's just a label. And we can use also 1 and 2. But these two numbers differ from regular numeric variables because this one is just a label. It's not a number. We just code this label, this female with a numeric variable. So we cannot perform calculation on this 1 and 2. These are just labels. Okay? And ordinal, for example, in a survey, how satisfied are you with the service that you receive? For example, very satisfied, satisfied, dissatisfied. Okay? The difference between ordinal and nominal is that ordering between the values is important in ordinal variables. Very satisfied is much better than satisfied. But we cannot measure how better is very satisfied than just satisfied. But there is a kind of difference between these values, very satisfied, satisfied, and dissatisfied. That's why it's called ordinal. Order between the values is important. But in nominal, no order can be defined between values. These are just labels. For example, the name of the states inside the United States. We have 50, like we can code them in 1 to 15. We can use this name, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These are just labels, or we can just use their regular names. California, New Mexico, and so. Does that make sense? So there is no natural ordering in. If there is no natural ordering, it is nominal. If there is a natural ordering, it is called ordinal variable. With qualitative data or variables, we can just count the numbers or report the percentage. We cannot perform those regular mathematical calculations. And we can code our nominal variables with numbers. In this case, they are called dummy variables. Instead of male and female, we can use 1 and 2. This is just a dummy variable. Binary variable, and etc. So, this table, we have a number of variables. The first variable, person, 1, 2, 3, 2, 30. What kind of variable is that? Is that a numeric or categorical?
Just categorical.
Mhm.
Label.
Yes, just a label. Second variable, age. We have middle-aged. It has three values: middle-aged, elderly, or young. Is that a numeric or categorical?
Categorical.
Mhm. It has three categories. Is that nominal or ordinal?
Ordinal.
Ordinal, yeah. There is a kind of ordering between these three categories: young, middle-aged, and elderly. The third variable, gender. We have 1 and 0. Is that a number or just a label?
It's the label.
Mm-hmm.
The dummy variable.
Yeah, exactly. It's a dummy variable. Categorical and nominal. It's just a label. State variable D.
Categorical.
Mm-hmm. Categorical, nominal. Nominal. Number of children.
Astronomical.
Yeah, numerical. That's numerical, number of children. And salary.
The same thing, numerical.
Yeah, it's numerical, right. And opinion. We have these type of values: agree, strongly agree, disagree, and neutral.
Categorical.
Categorical, yeah. Is that ordinal or nominal?
Ordinal.
Ordinal, right. So, again, with these categories, we can just count them or report the percentage. And with numerical variable, we can do all kind of arithmetic operation. We can take the average, we can report their variability like standard deviation, and we can do whatever arithmetic method that we have in hand. So we have for numerical variables, we have two type of numerical variables, like discrete and continuous. Discrete and continuous. Discrete like this. And continuous like this. So what's the difference between these two types of variables, discrete and continuous? Both are numerical variables. In continuous, between each pair of variables, we have an unlimited or infinite number of values. But for the discrete, we can count the number of values between each pair of numbers. For example, between 1 and 5, we have 4 values, 1, 2, 3, 4. But, for example, between 1 and 2, we may have these values, 1.0001, 1.0002, 1.000000, and unlimited values, number of values between each pair of numbers. So, again, these two types of variables are used often in telecommunication. If we use discrete values to send our information or transmit our information, it is going to be called digital communication or digital telecommunication. Continuous is using analog format. Everything in nature is kind of analog. When we speak, our sound signal forms a kind of sine wave. Devices like microphone receives those signals and convert them into kind of digital that can be used inside the computer. Okay. So continuous or analog, discrete or digital. Cross-sectional, which is a cross-section of a population at a distinct point in time. Time series are data collected over time. When we monitor one or more variables over time, its name is time series. This is the time axis. This is, for example, the value. Dow Jones Industrial Average. Industrial average. We monitor it over time. This is called time series. But when we monitor a group of variables at a certain point in time, its name is cross-sectional. So, 3 ways to describe a categorical variables. We can count the number of categories, we can give the categories names, and we can count the number of observations in each category or report the percentage. So I think that should be enough for today. Let's work on this example in the next week. Is there any questions? All right, that's all for today. Thank you all very much.